line that I prepared for. All right, everybody. I am here with Sergio Ramos from Real Madrid. Sergio, gracias for coming. No habla español, but no, just kidding. You look a bit like Sergio Ramos. Have you
Yeah,
been told that?
I've had that a few times.
Yeah.
A few other players as well, but yeah,
Yeah.
Sergio Ramos has
You
come a few times.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have any issues with his looks, but I'm glad that you're a nicer person than Sergio Ramos. I definitely like you a lot more. Like, I don't think there's a football player I dislike as much as.
I've definitely had as well many physical encounters as him on the football field because it does get quite well. I get quite aggressive when I play football, and if I carried on playing, I would have probably seen as many red cards as him for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean, for the record, I think he's one of the most overrated defenders for that reason. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, like getting that many red cards and like being considered like an all-time great defender. Like to me,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's a great leader and whatever. But anywho, so how do you want me to call you? By the way, I probably should
Tay,
have
my full name is Talon, but call me Tay. Everyone
Tay.
calls me Tay.
Okay, Tay Zonde. Do you know who is Tay Zonde?
Huh?
Tay
Tay,
Zonde?
never heard of him.
No. There was this video that went viral like many years ago. That was called Chocolate Rain.
Yeah.
And there's this guy singing into the microphone, and he has this crazy good voice, but it's hilarious. Like chocolate rain, like that's the chorus, and like it's yeah. Anyway, I'll send it to you afterwards. So yeah, Tay is a former client of mine. We worked together for a long time. Like we were in some sort of collaboration at least for over a year. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, just over a year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember, so I think November 2021, or October 2021, and then we just carried that on for just over a year. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and we have experienced and seen a lot of things together. That sounded a little bit weird. um,
So where's this going?
lately, lately we are mainly communicating about other stuff like football. We both support the same football team, Manchester United. So
As you
um,
can probably tell by my London accent, I'm a Manchester United fan.
yeah, well, a lot of my audience is American, so I'm not sure if they can pick up between the London and the Manchester accent, but I can pick up between the Liverpool and others, and the
Well,
Newcastle one is
they're a different breed altogether. So
yeah,
yeah, they've got the thickest British accent. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it's yeah. I was gonna try to attempt a Liverpool accent here, but
Yeah.
probably wouldn't end too well. So um, so we work together. These days we are still communicating, but yeah, like football, about some other stuff. Luckily we sort of became like buddies as well throughout the process, which often happens with clients if we hit a good vibe throughout the coaching process. But I think that we will get to cover some interesting stuff. I think your story and how you went through your tackling the goals that you had was very interesting for a number of reasons. But either way, yeah, welcome first of all. And would you just like to say a couple of sentences about how you got into fitness, what inspired you initially, and yeah, and
Yeah.
anything that you think is relevant here?
Yeah. So yeah, my story like stems way back. I'm 28 now. I guess in my early sort of teens, I just gained loads of weight just through eating and just not moving. I wasn't really much. Well, I was playing football at a young age, but I was overeating my energy burn essentially. Like I was just eating a lot of food. So I think the weight just kept creeping up to a point where when I was like 15, I think that was my highest, around 95, 96 kilos. And just to give more context, I'm like 5'11". 179 centimeters, I think. And I think my highest point was when I was 16 at around 98, 99, which is essentially what kind of triggered the journey. That's when it kind of started. I kind of knew that something had to change. I was at that age where social status was important, and I was kind of aware what was going on. But I didn't really think much of the weight gain growing up. I was just a happy kid, just eating food and just living life. But then I recognized, I was changing environment, going to a different college and school and whatever. So I thought, you know what, let me try and reinvent myself in some way. And obviously due to the health concerns as well. So I think when I broke up from school, that summer holiday, just before going to obviously new college, we had a 3-month holiday vacation. I just set a goal. I joined a gym, and this was the first time I'd ever taken steps into sort of goal setting and just living that sort of lifestyle where everything was dialed in. I just set a goal and said, I'm going to go to the gym every day and just see what happens. Not knowing what I was going to do there, I just wanted to get a gym membership and see what happens. So I went, just followed general advice from the managers, PTs, like local trainers and whatnot. And it was evident for me at the time, it was just to lose weight and just get moving and do something a bit different. And yeah, I mean, I was just on the cardio machines for the first week, but I was loving it. Like an hour a day, just on. It wasn't a treadmill; it was like a stair climber thingy. It was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those 60-minute grueling sessions where I was doing like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, an hour every single day. Being a bit conscious of what I was eating. I wasn't really, I didn't know what calorie was. I didn't really know anything about nutrition, calories, macros, all that stuff. It was just purely let me get moving. And then I remember this so vividly now, like that first week, stepping on the scale, like 7 days into it, I lost around 2.5, 3 kilos. And I was like, fuck, is it this easy? Like, what have I been like doing all along? Like, is it this easy? But then I came to realize not all that was fat, but it built the momentum, it got me going. And like obviously the rest is history. Like I just didn't stop. Like every single day without fail, that period of my life was so important. Like, those 3 months, I think I shed 25, 30 kilos in maybe 3-4 months, which was just obscene. And I was just literally a different person from May till September, May till August, September. And yeah, I mean, I became obviously skinny fat. I didn't lift during that time. It was just purely cardio. But then I found myself, reading up more about training, cardio, nutrition. And I was fortunate enough, I guess, to not, I think around that time it was 2012, like 2011, 2012. And that's when like YouTube started exploding with a lot of fitness content and like the evidence-based stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was your bro science as well on YouTube and sort of all over the internet. But I was fortunate enough to kind of, go down that the evidence-based road. Just stumbling across articles, like watching YouTube channels like 3DMJ and all of those channels. So yeah, I didn't really spin my wheels just following all the bro science stuff. I went straight into teaching myself about nutrition, about how calories affect the body and all of that stuff. And then I started training, just started following basic programs and yeah, just enjoying that as well, and then just implementing the two, doing some weights, doing cardio, because I was just, although I'd lost so much weight and I didn't really need to lose anymore, I became skinny fat. Like I was still addicted to almost like the cardio itself and just that feeling, the endorphins and just it felt like it was a part of me, like the stair climber and I felt like without that, I wouldn't be where I wouldn't look the way I look today, or I wouldn't have had that transformation. So yeah, I mean that. Long story short, those 3 months were that kind of got the ball rolling for me, and then I guess I felt I guess from that point up until, like I say, for a few years, I was just addicted to staying a certain shape in terms of just being skinny. Like I was afraid putting the weight back on. That's why I never did any sort of bulks or over-consumed calories. I was very meticulous, almost to a point where, you know, my social life was kind of impacted at the time, because I just fell down that rabbit hole of, right, what am I doing today? What am I eating today? Like, I was just very meticulous with everything. And yeah, like, as I think most people kind of go through this at some stage when they go from fat to skinny, they obsessed and yeah, for a few years, I guess I was just stuck in that pattern of just going to the gym but just spinning my wheels. I wasn't really getting anywhere. It was just to stay a certain way, stay a certain weight. And this happened for a few years, and then I say post university, I just went on the dreamer bulk. Just I don't know what it was. I just said I'm bored of this now, and just said fuck it. I just went crazy, and I think that's when I put on most of my size for about a year. I was doing that, and I kind of backed myself to lose the weight again. So about a year, I was just overeating and training, put on a decent amount of size, and then lost the weight again. Looked relatively okay. Looked much better. Looked in much better shape than I was before. Then I just fell into that pattern again, and it was just this constant cycle of just being kind of scared and afraid to kind of eat more than I should. And then I think over time I developed a better relationship with myself, my body, my image, food, training, and all of that stuff. But I still felt like I needed some sort of guidance to like get me to the next stage, and this is where you came in. I guess I just needed someone to put me back on the right path. And at this point, I was, you know, kind of in the high teens of body fat. I was still training, but half-assed. I didn't really have a program. I was just training for the sake of training.
And you were falling out of love because?
I thought I wasn't getting anywhere. I just thought I need someone to tell me, just basically put me in my place and say, right, we need to do this, follow this, and then get you to here. And then after that, we can reassess what it is you want to achieve. So for me at this point, it was getting lean again, because I built a certain base, but I guess I was in a stage where I kept spinning my wheels so much. I didn't really every kind of everything I tried to implement wasn't working, and I don't know, you know, for me it was I think I was just I was in that victim sort of mindset of, you know, this is not working for me anymore, like calories in, calories out is bullshit. And I knew I had to go back to the basics, and that's when I thought, you know, an objective I would help. That's when I reached out to you, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely helped me, and it's changed my outlook and everything. And now I'm at a stage now where, you know, I look great, and now I can definitely I've got more clarity around my goals now, I guess. So yeah, it's definitely been a life-changing experience, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much my journey. I mean, there's a lot of indecisive years, and I feel like I've wasted my time and spun my wheels a lot. But I guess I'm here now, and yeah, I'm in a far better place.
Well, first of all, thank you for that very lovely intro, and especially how you ended that intro. I like that especially. Just kidding. Main thing that stood out to me at the time is that, like, okay, you want to get lean. You also made it clear that you're someone who, if you set yourself on a strategy, you're going to stick to it. So you can die for a goal if you need to. So yeah, like, do you just want to briefly talk through like what we did in the beginning, if you remember?
Yeah. So it is literally just what I said before. It was just a case of going back to basics. So I remember, just like, again, going back to what I was doing before you, I was just trying everything under the sun, just hoping something would work, and knowing full well what calories in, calories out was, and like knowing if I stuck to X amount of calories, you know, I'd lose a certain amount of weight. But I guess the structure that you set for me was pretty basic. I mean, I was lifting 4 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, like an A and B workout, and it was like stick to X amount of steps a day. And I'll obviously get onto that later on, because I think steps played a huge part in the success. But let's stick to a certain amount of steps a day, like whatever 1,000 calories, 2,200 calories. Keep your protein high, just the basics, right? So just keep your protein high, and fill the rest in with however you want. And yeah, I mean, I was seeing great results for the first, I guess, 5-6 weeks. I was losing weight like quite effortlessly, sorry. And this was, I think, around 7-8 weeks. Yeah, I remember. So it was November and December. I lost a good amount of weight, I think around 8 pounds. And then I came back January, and I think I just kind of, I don't know, the consistency went, and I think the weight was just creeping back up. And again, I was in that whole victim mindset at the time. I was like, oh, like, why isn't this working? But then I knew full well, like, I wasn't being consistent. I knew that I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. I knew that, I wasn't as active as I should have been. I knew that I was eating more than I should have, in terms of like extra condiments, extra, pieces of this, going to my family, just eating this and underestimating it, and all this stuff that creeps up on you, which I kind of neglected over the years. So when you look at something, you know, like peanut butter, for example, Nutella, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a spoonful of this. It's probably 20 calories, but realistically, you just like smash 300 calories in a spoonful, like just things like that, right? And then that applies to condiments and all the other stuff. And I had this really bad habit before you, in doing that. Like I just mindlessly just snacked on things, and just not knowing what was the actual sort of calorie content I was taking in. And I guess those bad habits like crept off me again in January. And yeah, I think I just put on a bit of weight, and I think I started blaming on water retention and all this funky stuff. But yeah, clearly I was just mistracking, misreporting, and not adhering. So yeah, I think for 2 months it was good. Then that happened, and then I kind of had to reset again, and just reset my mindset, and just go back to square one. Which is then where like the real kind of success happened. I think from that point on, from January or February and up until, I say, April, that's when all the weight came off.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Just wanna slow down a little bit. So basically, like, there was like a honeymoon phase where everything was going well. Like you were. So then it was up until January then. But yeah, kind of that's what I recall as well. Like when did we start? In beginning of November, right?
Yeah, end of October, early November.
Yeah, right. So then like first 2 months, so November was good. December was mostly good. Like near the end, like things kind of started to slow down. But basically it was like every week, a new low. You were also like visually starting to get leaner. In the gym, you were gaining strength very steadily, which, in the first month, at least, not to be like overhyped how big of a deal that is, because that is expected. Like you did a whole bunch of new stuff. So of course you were gaining strength, but even like second month, still things were going very well. And then there was the first time that I recall you mentioning to me that like things are kind of slowing down. But there were enough things that could explain it, right? Like there were like, I don't know, more so like I mean, Christmas period, if anything, right?
Yeah.
So you were also, was there some travel thing, or not at that time? Now
No.
On the
At the same
details.
time, like obviously going back to like my work and stuff, like it requires me to be quite social and client facing. I'm always out at different events and stuff. So, and my goal with all of this was ultimately to live my life like yeah, just essentially live my life and have fitness on in the background and enjoy social events and indulge, every now and again. But I think at this moment, I think during that point, I just overindulged, and I probably, wasn't aware of that. And
well, initially you were, right? Like, so
yeah,
because that's the thing. Like, initially there were enough things that could explain it, but then once that holiday period kind of tapered down and things kind of went back to normal, that's when we even had a Skype. I even remembered. I think there was like a Champions League game that night,
yeah.
and United played with Atalanta or something.
Ronaldo just tore it all up. I remember that.
Yeah. Because we talked, and then like after that, the game
Yeah,
started. Yeah. So then it would have been still in December then.
yeah.
Yeah, because the Champions League group phase finishes in December, right? Or is it in January still? No, I think anyway. So we,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't matter
around
that,
that time.
but so like that was I think the last time roughly when we interacted, and I still didn't get it, that this is like a serious thing, in your mind at least, but it was definitely impacting you very, very severely, like mentally. But at that time, like, we talked it through, and I was like, yeah, like let's just do this kind of like fairly standard things, as far as what I would tell someone if they are struggling with water retention. And then there came a point where you sent me a couple of voice notes, um about the water, like the weight stalling. I responded something which again would have been like fairly standard. And then when you responded, I think you didn't respond with a voice note, you responded in writing. And that's when it clicked that like, this person is actually very seriously frustrated about this. And it's something that he has a history with, which I was not aware of.
Yeah,
So that's when I kind of realized that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of like the picture that kind of like got assembled in my head, was that you sort of like this was something that has happened with you in the past, and like you were kind of fearing that you are just seriously screwed up physically,
yeah,
and that if you try it again, this is what's going to happen again. And when now this happened, you
yeah,
felt in that moment that like, I'm not getting, like, I'm not taking you seriously, which,
yeah.
I mean, if that was indeed the case, that you were screwed up completely, then it would have been true up until that point, because I didn't think that you were. Uh, so I'm getting that right then, or got
Yeah,
it
no,
right.
I guess that's ultimately why I reached out to you, in a sense that I thought nothing was working for me, and I knew that an objective eye could solve all my problems. Uh,
Right.
Most of it was in my head, and it was just problems I was creating for myself.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, but also at the same time, I wasn't wrong. Like there were like funky water retention things happening, and that was
Yeah.
evident in pictures and all that stuff. And it was more prevalent, like as I was getting leaner, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but but no, it was just good to have you there by my side to kind of say, listen, it will dissipate, and it's not as bad as you think it is. Like like obviously when you're on a fat loss phase, you're constantly looking at the mirror, you're constantly evaluating yourself and your image. So it's easy for your mind to play tricks on you. So I think for the most part that was happening as well. Um, so it's just good to have, I guess, you there, just have that opinion, that second opinion, and just say, actually, if you compare this picture to this picture, there's not really that much difference. And it's funny because when I actually look at my old images now, I think the same. Like when you look at a picture that you've not seen for a long time, you think, oh holy shit, like I
Oh
look
yeah.
so different in that. Like in terms of like, for example, the recent cut I finished with you, I compare that to, I say, a cut I did years ago, where I thought I was very lean years ago, but I was like fat as fuck. Like I was like comparing that to the recent one, I was like, okay, wow, this is actually. So it's crazy how your mind can play tricks on you, and I wasn't really aware of it at the time. so yeah, I think that for the most part was a huge factor in why I kind of rode the storm,
Yeah.
and well, eventually succeeded. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's and it just kind of goes to show as well, like, you know, when you talk to someone, like someone reaches out to me. Is that my cat standing in front of the door or my wife? It's very creepy. Or someone, or a terrorist who's about to shoot me. Slightly creepy. So when someone reaches out to me, like obviously I'm gonna get an email, usually kind of like describing, hey, Abel, like this and this is going on with me. Do you think you could take me on or whatever? And like what you actually read out of the email, like obviously you must have written like in your mind explicitly enough about this water retention problem. And I read it like, yeah, I retain water. Okay, cool. But I saw a bunch of other things as well that you wrote down. Like I lost a lot of weight in the past. I've been training for this and this long. There was a lot of info. The water retention piece was probably like, I don't know, like 10th in order, like in terms of what's important here in this email. Whereas like for you, it's like, okay, like there's all that other stuff, but the water retention, goddammit. it. So it's just interesting that like, yeah, what you wrote versus what I read in our minds was probably very different. Let's then talk about like how that process was where we managed to get a grip on this. Initially, I also felt like kind of I almost started freaking out, like my goodness, what is going on with this guy? Which is always the nightmare of anybody who is helping someone for, I mean, in general, but especially for money, because like, am I gonna let this person down, right? And eventually we came to the conclusion that okay, like maybe at the very least it's worth a try. Like maybe you are indeed eating exactly the amount of calories that are planned, but who knows, like maybe some evil alien is injecting some extra calories into your plates. Let's just try something which we like. If that doesn't work, then okay, like they're going to name a condition after you.
Yeah.
So at least there is the silver lining.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just adding to that again, I think from that point, we just came up with a new strategy. I think this was end of Jan, early Feb time. Obviously, the weight started just creeping back up, um, almost to the beginning, I guess. To where my weight was at the beginning. So I thought, okay, shit, we need just a new strategy here. And I think I mentioned at the time, well, there's loads of these kind of meal prep delivery kind of things where they'll just give you precise calories, macros, all that stuff. And there's a few here in the UK that are quite reputable. There's one called Fresh Fitness Food, which literally was just an absolute lifesaver for me. Like it was, I was I'm quite in a fortunate enough position to actually like afford something like that. I mean, it's not, it's not in everyone's budget, but it just takes all the heavy lifting out of cooking and just prepping and all of that stuff. And for me at the time, it was very important because I just knew that if I ate this amount of food given to me on a daily basis, though, like those are the calories per day, and I'll just hit my goals. Like there is no escaping it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I started that plan, and I think I was on the same amount of calories that you set for me. So how it works is you plug in your calories, macros, what foods you prefer, and all that stuff, and they will they will deliver every single day to your doorstep, like however many meals you want. So if it's 3 or 4, split up into breakfast, lunch, dinner, based on your calories. So I did that for 8 weeks, and yeah, like I just melted, like literally melted.
It was,
And that put things into perspective for me. So that just went to show, like that goes to show, I probably wasn't, accurate with everything I was doing. So see, what are you going to say? You're going to say something?
yeah, it was just like there was a moment where I thought to myself, like, okay, this these must be the moments that make some coaches who have been in this, like, I don't know, 20 years or something, like ultra mega cynical and like super not trustworthy
Yeah.
of people's words, because like seriously, if someone hears you talk about and heard you talk at the time, like there's a difference between some, like, I mean, not to offend house moms, but a house mom, like, I mean, I'm not eating anything. Like the weight is just not coming off. Like there's a difference between that and like someone like you saying like, and I know that like there must be a billion people who say that they are not eating anything, but in reality they are overeating. But I'm telling you, I'm seriously tracking everything down to the gram, and this is happening. Like when someone like that is telling you that, and I've seen your physique from before, things that you have done, how long you have been following this shit, and I can see it in your log, the weight is actually not moving. What can you say to that? Like no, sorry, Tay, you're full of shit. So um but when you started following the like, they were actually delivering your meals to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing that weight is like starting to move downwards linearly. I was like, well, god damn it, like
Yeah.
you too, my son, brute, or what is the saying?
Yeah. But no, for me, those whole that period of 8 weeks, however long it was, I was on that program or service. It just put things in perspective for me in terms of just not not going back to those bad habits of just mindlessly grazing, because I think that's ultimately that was a big part in the weight creeping up and just me spinning my wheels, and just making sure that I was adhering to something and just sticking to it. Yeah, that definitely helped. And another thing that really coincided with that was, which I previously mentioned I'd get onto, was the step count and just the activity outside of the gym. So yeah, just following those two together. Like in terms of walking outside, I think I was averaging 16,000 steps at that time, which,
Yeah,
to some people that might be nothing. Some people they might think, holy shit, that's quite a lot.
that's a lot of steps.
In London, it's pretty effortless. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, for me, I felt it. Like I had to actively go out of my way to get those steps on a daily
Yeah.
basis, which is good because you go out, listen to a podcast, and get into a creative flow. But no, it definitely helped. I think that was the difference between losing the amount of weight I did and not. So I think steps for me, that was the magic tool. That alongside actually adhering to something, adhering to your diet. But yeah, like, and to this day, I'm still mindful of the amount of steps to take a day, or I'm taking a day, and yeah, I kind of weaned off the whole meal prep thing. I was doing that beyond the cut as well, just so I can just stay in that flow of adhering to something. I increased my calories a bit, but I just wanted to stay on it for a bit longer. But then I just kind of created, habits where I wasn't. Well, basically, it was more to do with like picking the right foods so that I wasn't. There was no margin for error, basically. So it was pretty much bland foods where I wasn't using any sauces, condiments, all of that stuff. Um, and yeah, I've managed to kind of stay consistent now and keep the weight off. And yeah, I look, well, to me, I think I look pretty impressive now, which is good.
Yeah, and just want to go back in history a little bit. Well, actually, two things I want to go back to. So, like, are you sure that you're remembering well that you mindlessly grazed? Because like because I don't think you would have been as frustrated at the time. Like,
Well, what,
like what I remembered is that it was more so like, we create these really cool like low calorie meals for ourselves, and like we add this and this, like this kind of whatever agent that is making
yeah.
it more
Yeah.
voluminous.
For me, when I say mindlessly graze, it's literally it's literally thinking, oh, this won't do anything, this won't harm me, in the sense that I will go 5 grams or 10 grams over on a certain thing, and then that just adds up throughout the day, and then next thing you know, you're literally 500
Uh,
calories above.
so that's not grazing. That's like
That's just
add,
yeah, That's just not being as accurate as it should be.
Yeah, because
Um,
like grazing in my mind is like snacking in
yeah.
between meals.
But there was that element as well. Like I would maybe, I'd have nuts or something like that where it's high calories, it's going to affect your
I mean,
diet. And it's like, and here's me thinking, a handful's like, oh, it's going to do nothing. But in reality, it's like you've just had 200 calories. And yeah, that was just a consistent theme, I guess, over the years, not just working with you, but over the years, and which led me to believe that I was a special snowflake and I wasn't gonna get anywhere. So I just had to put myself in this mindset of no, I'm just following this. I'm being rigid, like regimented, and this is where obviously the whole meal prep thing became a success.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew if I just followed this to a T, then I'd have to reach my goals. So yeah, like it was just creating those habits beyond the diet, which helped keep the weight off.
Yeah, and like yeah. So now I do remember how it was, because like again, I'm recalling this Skype or Zoom call that we had on that Manchester United match night. So basically what happened is that like you estimated like, so those extra things that you snacked on or whatever, like those were factored into the whole equation in your mind. So like you counted with those things. So you didn't think that like a small portion of whatever is 0 calories. You didn't think that, but like it was like calculated in. And I mean, it was not completely wrong, right? So like you didn't go into a surplus and started like gaining back weight gradually, but like you just got stuck. So we're not completely wrong. It was just
it's crazy as well how like your mind does play like tricks on you, especially when you're into a dieting phase where you're feeling the hunger and like you're tired and you get home and you've prepped a meal and you've hit your calories and you've done like X amount of steps and thinking, oh, like an extra portion of this won't hurt. Like an extra few hundred calories here. Like I've done more steps than I should have today. And it just ruins the whole diet. So for me, yeah, it was just about ruling all of that out and just getting rid of all of that fluff and just adhering. So
yeah. And none of us are completely free of that. I think like competence basically, I mean, what is that Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like it's someone who is a complete rookie at this is not going to have a lot of self-belief. I mean, some people do, but oftentimes they will have that healthy amount of humility. With me there, it also happened that, for example, before my photo shoot, when I got very lean for that, there was this phase. I remember I was like, I don't know, 84 kilos or so, trying to get down closer to like 80. And there was like this couple of weeks where just nothing was happening. And I was still not tracking calories. I was just like following my regular kind of strategies.
Yeah.
And I could just, basically I was thinking everything like, why is the weight not moving? Well, it's because of maybe water retention. Maybe it's because of gut content, like increased food volume. Maybe it's because I'm recomping. I was willing to blame everything except for the fact that possibly I'm just eating too much. And then eventually I tracked down my calories and they came out to like 2,700 or something, which, if I'm active enough, that could still have been a deficit, but probably was just in this like dead zone where like it's sort of like at the low end of maintenance, like just like my body can still just kind of adapt to that. So track down calories, okay, 2,200.
That's still such a. I'm so jealous of that amount of food to eat on a diet. That's crazy. 2,700 calories. Like anyone would bite your hand off for that.
2,700.
That's a lot of it.
Well, I was not losing on it, so. Well, so yeah, it's 2,200 went down to that. It started losing like a charm. So I don't know how a charm is losing, but I started losing like that. So it's definitely a thing. None of us are completely immune to that. And the thing is that I haven't done that serious of a diet in a while. I could totally see something like that happening again, because like, I'm out of that practice. So, just a good lesson for everybody out there. just one more thing I want to go back to, just because I think that's actually useful, is that your initial setup. Maybe I should do a video on this one time, like my alcohol protocol. But
Yeah.
basically, it is pretty simple. But like, because you had an active social life, like, yeah, like when you're like going out, whatever, alcohol will be involved. We had to basically take that as a standard, like, okay, like there will be certain days that are going to be like that, so better plan for that. So basically what your setup was, saving up calories, including for the alcohol calories. So basically it was, okay, on those days when you have some big whatever meeting where you're going to be around clients or whoever that you need to network with, and like you're gonna be having these like fancy drinks and whatever until like late in the night, you're going to go there with like a relatively empty stomach. So like we even like timed it out like relatively meticulous. Like if you train on those days, then you will have like something before, like something small, then you will have like a shake, maybe something small, like not too much, so that you actually go there with a relatively empty stomach, and you don't need to be like drinking a lot to actually have like a good like party time with these people. And then you also have enough calories for later, so that like you can actually eat something and you don't need to like, okay, I'm out for drinks, got a bit of a buzz, and now with a bit of disinhibition, I'm gonna go home and go to bed hungry. Like, sounds like a great recipe
Yeah.
for great diet adherence. Right, like that's what it was,
I
more or
mean,
less.
for the most part, yeah, that is quite accurate. I think, again, going back to the activity levels, I think it was important. I was relatively active on those days, so I made sure I got a certain amount of steps. I knew that, going into it, like my maintenance calories that day was a bit higher than usual. But yeah, just what you said, just keeping protein quite high during the day, and just saving sort of room for alcohol calories. But it was weird. So when I started working with you, that was my mindset going into it, where it's like, oh, I've got this job, I've got this lifestyle, and I want to be able to maintain that. But my mindset did shift like throughout the diet, where I didn't actually want to be consuming alcohol, and the more kind of into it I got, the more committed I was to actually like avoiding these sort of events and interactions. So, and obviously, it did creep up on me at times in terms of these events and me having to attend and have a few drinks here and there, but it didn't get out of hand, which is good.
Yeah.
Whereas before, over the years, it was once a week, just getting absolutely smashed and wondering why I'm not losing weight and wondering why I'm still out of shape. But yeah, no, that protocol certainly helped me. And yeah, I think throughout the time, especially was it the first time from November to December, I had a few events and I don't think it really affected me. So I just
Yeah,
followed the
that was
plan.
like the least of the problems
Yeah,
typically
exactly.
throughout the whole time.
It was
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah. And then or do you need to like jump off like in a second? Because there's one, actually two topics I briefly want to cover, is just so like after all of this was done, so like eventually like you lost quite a bit more, it went well, the meal delivery service was great. You had an interesting experience where you went traveling like quite a
Yeah,
bit later, and seemingly you were like in an environment where like nothing should have been ideal for staying
yeah,
lean,
yeah.
and you completely knocked it out of the park and it went amazingly well. And if anything, after that is where when you had more challenges, when you were back in your regular kind of environment. So we want to talk about that a bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's obviously months post that meal delivery thing. Yeah, I went traveling to Southeast Asia for about just over a month. Um, And yeah, like you said, it was just everything around me was a temptation in the form of alcohol, like food, and other things. but um, but but yeah, I mean, it was just about again being mindful, and just being aware of what I was doing on a daily basis. Like again, step count. I was training still, here and there, not following the same sort of plan I was following at home, but I had resistant bands on me as well, and there were a few gyms there as well, which I trained at a few times a week. But every day was just about keeping protein high, trying to satiate myself on certain foods and all of that stuff. Drinking in moderation. Well, I say moderation. I don't think it was. I think it was every
Compared to some people, it's moderation.
yeah. um, but it was just following, like again, it's going back to basics and just keeping those principles and applying them over there. And I mean, I still gained a bit of weight, but it wasn't anything too bad. And I stayed relatively lean, which is quite good. It was challenging, but it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you did amazingly well. I mean, you sent me pictures here and there, like physique update. And I mean, for the most part, you looked better than ever. Like the small amount of weight that you gained was like just within that margin where like it just made you look like really nicely filled out and even leaner if possible, because like your skin was tighter or whatever. So I mean, you did amazingly well. And I mean, I think I know the reason why, in part. I mean, okay, some of it is the amazing strategies that you learned from me. Just kidding. But
No, you're not.
I mean, yeah, but I have to say it, right? It's the real reason in my mind why, especially in light of what happened afterwards, because like you came back, and then again, like in theory, that would have been more ideal, right? Like even the alcohol that was more constantly like a temptation or whatever, like something that was there, the non-perfect food environment. Like now you came back, like you had all the grocery stores and everything that you would normally use, and then all of a sudden you felt like
Yeah.
things are just crazy on the hunger front.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was a lot. It was a lot more mental as well. I think it was a case of just not having a goal at the time. I think I was just in this limbo phase of like, right, I've done this. Like now what? And almost kind of wanted to like self sabotage in a sense. I found myself like overindulging more, finding myself a lot more hungry in the evenings, and then like overcompensating for it the next day by like either reducing calories or being more active. Um, so yeah, I couldn't quite figure out what it was. So this is when me and you were back in contact, and I was like, "What do you think? What do you think's happening here?" And I don't know. I kind of questioned, is it like a leptin ghrelin issue where like I've dieted so much and so long that it's impacted me, and I went back to that whole victim mindset of my hormones are fucked again. Like I'm something broken in me again.
Yeah.
But then I just realized, yeah, it's probably more of a mental issue more than anything. And then it kind of like stabilized, and yeah, like now I'm just kind of practicing staying where I am, just so I can master that, and rather than just yo-yo up and down like I used to. And then eventually, I'll get into a place where I want to put on a lot more size. So those are like, yeah, that's my kind of short term to sort of medium term goal at the minute. It's just being mindful of what I'm doing, and just sticking to those principles and just staying consistent. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's yeah, I wouldn't even say it was a mental issue. It was I mean, mental issue in response to an environmental issue or
Yeah,
a existential issue. I mean, diet wise existential issue. Like it's no goal. And also like people don't think of these things, but it is very powerful when you're in like a resort or whatever, and you spend a good chunk of the day like in swimming trunks, and people see your body, and like let's say just random scenario, it's noon. Okay, I I'm kind of slowly getting hungry, but we're gonna go to the beach in an hour. Like, am I going to have a large meal, or am I just going to snack on something
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
even stay a tiny bit hungry, maybe? uh when you're in a resort and like they're gonna see my abs in an hour, then I think most people would make a slightly different decision.
Yeah.
So maybe you were actually like, that's what I told you at the time, like, are you sure you're actually hungrier now than you were at the time? Like, maybe you're just actually, you're bothered by it now, because then like that hunger was like, actually it's kind of a good thing that I'm a bit hungry, because during those times my stomach is usually flatter. Like, I recall having thoughts like this even as young as, like, I don't know, like 11 years old, when like there was some girl in my class that I liked, and we went to like a pool party with the school or something. So yeah, and people don't think of these things, but a lot of this, like hunger and satiety, like so much of that is psychological.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that definitely. And for me, it was more of a case of, and the reason why I think I adhered to it and kind of bypassed all of that and kind of again rode through the storm is because I knew I said I didn't have a goal, but I knew initially my goal was to actually just stay at maintenance and just see if I can maintain this and see if I can apply those principles that I taught myself and stayed so consistent with the past year and just maintain that and just keep consistent. And yeah, to this day I have been, which has been so important. And I think that will be the basis now for me to build on. I think when I do eventually start to put on more weight and just be accepting of that as well, because I know what I'm like. You know what I'm like. Like when I start putting weight back on, I'm really like yeah, but it's fine. I think I'm at that stage now where I'll be okay with it. And and yeah, but still, yeah, I'm enjoying lifting at the minute. I'm enjoying eating a lot more food. I'm enjoying just being active. I'm enjoying like not worrying about it. Basically, it's not. It's on the back. It's on in the background at the minute, like my fitness and lifting and eating. I'm not. I don't think about food like nearly as half as much as I did when I was dieting. So that in itself for me is a win. But I think that is the most important thing. Like, this for me was so much more important than the actual dieting phase. It's just
absolutely.
staying in that maintenance phase and staying in that, just adopting that mindset of can I just keep like this right now. So until I master that, yeah, I'm not going to bother like trying to bulk or whatever. So I'm enjoying it at the minute, so it's good.
Yeah, no, it is actually very cool to see. And I knew this before, like, just one could like look at all the voice notes that we exchanged, and they could hear the difference. Unfortunately, that's no longer possible, because the first good few we exchanged, I think, on Instagram, and that Instagram account has been so
We
because
created like 4 accounts and they just all got knocked off one by one.
one by one, it's like,
And now you've created one which is Abel hates Instagram.
and that one is still there. The irony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm imagining like the people sitting in the Instagram headquarters, and it's like they're just seeing like IP address
Yeah.
again, like an Instagram account is popping. I was like, this guy is not getting it. All right, delete. um, so but it is really cool to see, like, one can just hear it in the, even like see it in your facial expressions, and the tone of your voice. But obviously from the things that you're saying, like how much more relaxed you are about the whole thing, and that change over a year, well, more than a year now, is very cool to see. So yeah, it's definitely like you had not just a cool transformation like physically, but also the mental aspect of all
Yeah.
of this, I think, is something that you're gonna carry forward.
It's often overlooked, I think, with like physical transformations. A lot of people do focus on the physical. Like, most of it is mental and psychological. And if you master both, then that's huge.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that was kind of like the missing piece in the jigsaw all along. It was more just making sure that psychologically, I was dealing with everything in a better way. And I think I can say now with confidence, you know, I'm mastering it. I wouldn't say I've mastered it, but I'm in a far better place than I was, you know, compared to a few years ago. So yeah, that for me was a huge win, huge win.
Awesome, man. Well, I think I more or less talked everything through with you now that I wanted to. So unless you have anything to add that we skipped or whatever, then I think we can even wrap up. So yeah, Tay, thank you so much for doing this.
My
You want to
pleasure.
plug something?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So apparently, maybe I was very awkward with me outro. You see, I'm turning British.
You're gonna use Sergio Ramos picture as the thumbnail.
Yeah. So that was the combo with Tay. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.